But first, a huge political showdown is expected in Parliament next week, with the opposition slamming the draft 2G report of the Joint Parliamentary Committee that's given the Prime Minister and Mr. Chidambaram a clean chit and shifted the blame to former Telecom Minister A Raja. The BJP says the report is a cover-up and reads like a Congress document. The head of the panel, however, says that's just the opposition's political bias.
You see, the entire 2G is completely lawlessness. Whether it is CAG, with the due respect to the Supreme Court, even the Supreme Court observations, is completely violating natural justice. The trial is going on. I will prove my innocence.
The DMK furious with the draft report of the Joint Parliamentary Committee on the 2G scam, blaming A Raja for misleading the PM and giving the Prime Minister and Chidambaram a clean chit. A Raja is particularly upset that he wasn't allowed to appear before the panel despite his pleas. The opposition has called the report a cover-up.
The famous Chanakya doctrine is that the king who chooses to be misled or who's capable of being misled doesn't deserve to be the ruler. Well, that apart, I don't think it's a case of being misled. The goalpost was being shifted halfway through. Therefore, this was not unknown to the Prime Minister.
Trying to save some people at the higher echelons and blaming everything on one individual.
Gross breach of well-settled parliamentary propriety. And what has been published in the media referring to the draft report, I can only say it appears more to be a Congress document, not a JPC draft report.
The report seen by NDTV says the Prime Minister was misled by the Minister of Communication and Information Technology about the procedures. The assurances given by the Minister in all his correspondence with the Prime Minister to maintain full transparency in following established rules stood belied. The head of the parliamentary panel, PC Chako, has however strongly defended the report and blamed the opposition for political bias.
The anger from the opposition, I always anticipate, because this is an issue on which there can be convergence of opinion. Basically, this originally started as a political issue. So going into the merit of the issue without a political bias may not be possible for many members.
When Parliament resumes on Monday, it's bound to be stormy, with the opposition all set to attack the government. And that's going to be reflected when the Joint Parliamentary Committee meets on the 25th to adopt the draft report. The big question is, if they don't arrive at an adoption, given the huge political divide in that 30-member body, the final verdict on who was responsible for the allocation of the 2G will never be known. In New Delhi, Sunil Prabhu, NDTV.
And so the big question we're asking tonight is whether this JPC report has any credibility and whether there is actually an attempt to cover up who was really responsible in the 2G case. I spoke earlier today to PC Chako, the chairman of the Joint Parliamentary Committee, for more on that story. Mr. Chako, the report appears to be on political lines according to the opposition, and we understand the draft has cleared the Prime Minister and Mr. Chidambaram of any wrongdoing. Can you tell us on what basis?
Didi, in fact, about the content of the report, I do not want to make any comment now because, I have taken very meticulous care to circulate it as a confidential document. And 30 members of the committee were sent personally this document by person in sealed covers. It is my responsibility as chairman to, on the basis of the documents available to us, to make the draft. I have done my job and the draft is circulated to all the members. And beyond that, what is in the report and how it is how it is justified, I do not want to say. But the report is prepared on the basis of documentary evidence available to the committee. And the report, as far as possible, is made very fairly and on the basis of documentary evidence. And beyond that, I do not want to say about the content of the report.
But Mr. Chako, the BJP has reacted very strongly to this today. They've called it a Congress document, not a JPC report. Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad has also strongly criticized the report's leak as well.
Equally, I am also worried about that, like Ravi Shankar Prasad, because I have taken very meticulous care in sending it as a confidential record. I told very specifically to my secretariat that this should not be sent to the residence of the members, but should be sent to the members directly, take their signature and deliver this. And it was sent in sealed covers with a very special request to treat this as confidential. So maximum care was taken to see that it is a confidential record. If it has gone leaked out, then I cannot say that who is responsible for that.
Well, I know you don't want to comment on the contents of the draft report, but we do know that it blames the then Telecom Minister A Raja for misleading the Prime Minister. And the DMK is very upset. Mr. Raja himself is upset that he's been denied a chance to appear before the JPC. Isn't that a valid argument according to you? Because how can the man who's at the center of this entire scandal not be called before the JPC to depose?
It's not a valid argument because Raja's opinion was heard by the JPC. Because opinions are collected by JPC not always by the presence of a person, but by the written submissions also. Raja, when he wanted to appear before the committee, when he wrote to me, I immediately invited Raja for a discussion. I had discussion with Raja on 2 days and then I convinced him that why we are not calling Raja before the committee. Because you know that the terms of reference of this committee is not only these 2G licenses. Terms of reference of the committee was decided by the collective wisdom of all the leaders of the parties in parliament. They have decided the terms of reference as the policies, its implementation and the aberrations, if any, from 1999 to 2008. This being the terms of reference, there were 6 telecom ministers during this 10-year period. If I call one person alone, it may not be appropriate. So this I conveyed to Raja, but since he wanted to inform the committee some valuable information according to him, I requested to him to give it in writing. He gave me a detailed note. I have taken it on record and also I have circulated that to the members. That fully satisfies the Raja's demand for appearance before the committee. So there is no basis for anybody making an allegation that Raja's opinion was ignored by the JPC.
Well, many would also say that Raja's being made the fall guy here. He's being made the scapegoat. The blame's being put on him while the big guns get away.
That is again, Niti, you are asking a question about the content of the report. Whether Raja is made an accused person in this report, I will not say anything on that because this is a matter to be collectively decided while discussing the draft by the committee members on the 25th. But one thing I can tell you, if the draft report has drawn any conclusion, if anything is said about any individual or about any decision, that is with documentary evidences, that is with proof. And that much I can say. The rest will be decided by the committee on 25th.
And you've also taken on the CAG for the presumptive loss figure in that draft, calling it ill-conceived. Of course, that is something that the government had said earlier as well.
No, even that is also a matter to be decided by the committee only. I cannot say whether there was a loss, whether the CAG's opinion was right or not. I will not say that because the draft report will definitely, has dealt with that. And this committee was constituted on this allegation which was part of the CAG report that 1.76 lakhs crores was the total loss to the exchequer in issuing these 122 licenses. That was the reason for Parliament to become stormy and one session was washed out. That is finally we have decided to have the JPC. So that is a very important issue that we have dealt with in detail. But our conclusions can be discussed only after we discuss this matter in the committee on the 25th.